Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for being late.
Yeah, it's okay. So you're good now?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, Dr. Agi, what we're going to do is today, first I'm going to introduce you, and then after reading your bio, everything, then you start the talk, and then after that we shall have the question and answer session, and finally we'll have a photo session.
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Are you ready now?
Can I share my slides or later?
Yeah, you can share now.
Okay. Okay, doctor.
All right. So you ready?
Yes, inshallah.
Okay, Sarah, kita boleh start All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Dr. Raihana Nazira Ruslan and I am your MC for today. On behalf of Osman Yub Abdullah Graduate School of Business, I would like to welcome everyone to our skill training and career development talk for today. We are very honored today as we have Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Ravi Ismail from our own OYA GSP to deliver the talk entitled Leading Effective Change in Organizations. It is a very great pleasure to have you here, Dr. Ahmed, and thank you so much for spending your valuable time to share your vast experiences with us today. First and foremost, let me introduce our speaker for today. Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Ragi Ismail is an Associate Professor of Marketing and Management at OYA GSB, University Utara Malaysia. He started his academic career in 2002 as a teaching assistant at the School of Hospitality Management in Cairo University. He received his PhD in Management Studies, Marketing from the Brunel Business School, United Kingdom in year 2010. His main research and teaching interests fall into areas such as branding, sustainability, cross-cultural marketing, consumer behavior, value, and ethics. Dr. Ahmed has published in the Qualitative Marketing Research, Journal of Fashion Marketing and Management, Asia Pacific Journal of Marketing and Logistics, Young Consumers, and amongst others. Dr. Ahmed's work is globally recognized by scholars. Therefore, Dr. Ahmed serves as a peer reviewer in different marketing and management journals. It is my pleasure to invite Associate Professor Dr. Ahmed Ragi Ismail to present his talk entitled Leading Effective Change in Organizations.
Thank you so much, Dr. T, for this interesting introduction. It is a pleasure to be here today to introduce really an important topic, I believe, which is leading effective change in organization. First and foremost, I would like to welcome everyone and say thank you for taking the time to attend this talk. In this talk today, we are going to cover this agenda, which is first of all, we will know what is organizational change, the definition of the concept, and why is it important? What are the causes that we actually focusing on today on organizational change? What type of change that organization may go through, and some example from real life. So this is one important aspect. The second one is how can we handle this kind of a change? Do we need to lead change or manage change? Are our organizations ready for this change or not yet? So we will know whether it is time to change or we have to wait a little bit. Who is responsible for change? And then we will talk about the tools for change management. Change is really, as we will see later in our seminar today, that change is the only constant thing. So change is an ongoing process and never end. So in order to do this change, we have to have tools to drive this change in organization. What are those tools? and how can we use them, and when can we use those tools. Then we will move to resistance to change. Definitely, change when introduced to organization, there will be some kind of resistance. How can we deal with this resistance? What are the reasons of resistance? What should we do? What are the different strategies to alleviate or to counter this kind of resistance? And then, as the title of our today's talk is about leadership, then we need to look at leadership, which is more important than change management itself, as we will know from today's talk. So we will discuss this change leadership. What are the different styles of the change leaders? And there are one questionnaire that if you would like at the end of this lecture to know your leadership style when you are handling change, I will have a questionnaire and a survey for you. Take a few minutes to answer a few questions, and you will know what type of change leader are you. And also the relationship between the change leader and his or her employees, what kind of modes that we are taking. And then a very normal question that always asked, which is, how long does a change take? And we will need to answer this kind of question. And at the end will be Q&A section. And of course, if you like to ask any questions, please stop me and ask any questions that you would like to have. Okay, are we ready? Any questions before we start? Okay, so what is a change? A change in organization, this is the quote that Heraclitus said, that is the only constant is change. So in our daily life as a human beings, change is constant, and in organization also, as in life, change is a desired movement of organizations from current state, a certain state, to a new one, in order to remain effective and efficient in this market. So the aim is to eliminate the current state, the status quo, the current one. So you may have a question here. So what is the difference between change and innovation? A change is, as you can see in the definition, is moving from one state to another for being better in terms of performance, in terms of strategy, in terms of achieving organization goals. However, innovation is coming up with something totally new, radical, that never been before. And organizational change refer to the actions a business would take in order to adjust a significant component of this organization. That may include company culture. Sometimes organizations try to change the culture. I will see some examples. They try to change the internal processes. Sometimes the change could be a very minimal one, such as changing our billing system only, or changing our software that we are using for customer relationship management, or can be a huge transformation to the organization, such as changing the infrastructure or the corporate hierarchy, or changing the entire organization structure, as we will see with some examples. So this is the change, and this is organizational change. And organizational change management is a process of guiding this kind of change. We all know that management has 4 functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Applying those kind of guiding principles to make sure that we are moving towards the right direction and getting the change to be happened. So preparing change, implementing change, and follow through with the change. Why? Why do we need change? Because, as you can see, that organization is not in an isolation. Organization is surrounded by external environment. This external environment has so many forces, and organizations are in constant interaction with those forces, such as um, socioeconomic forces or political or technological. For example, if there is a new competitor entering the marketplace and that new competitor can cause a threat to our organization by sweeping away our established customer base. So here is a threat. We need to do something. We need to change to make sure that we have a high level of customer retention and customers are not switching to the competitor. Or maybe like what happened in 1970s with British Airways when they merger with many companies or merger and acquisition. So our business or our company is merging with another business. So definitely we need to think about so many things. What are the different strategies that we are follow? What kind of structure? What kind of organizational chart that we have? And that is another reason of change. Technology nowadays, technology changes the rule how this business conducted nowadays. For example, metaverse is coming, and to handle this kind of change, that we need to do something with our business. Digital transformation, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and so many other technological aspects that require or demanding the business not to stay in the current state and to end this current state by moving towards a new era or a new beginning. Government may impose some kind of regulation, new regulation, for example, that dealing with sustainability issues, SDG goals, and so that will put some kind of restriction on what type of product that we should deliver to the market. Sometimes crisis management that will lead to sudden change, and that is not planned change, like what happened in COVID-19. And on top of that, customer expectations. We all know that nowadays customers are being more knowledgeable, more demanding, and customers require certain things that we need to have delivered to him as a business in order to make sure that our customer expectation is fulfilled all the time. So now we know that, yes, really change is constant, change is required, change is important. As we mentioned right now, change can take many forms, like, for example, changing the hierarchy of our organization, merging some departments, removing some other, enriching some jobs, or because of automation or because of technology, we can delete or remove some jobs. So job structure is changing. The administrative procedures sometimes change. Maybe change can be in terms of strategic change. Maybe our goals are no longer valid. We think that, okay, maybe the strategic goals that we have, okay, to make sure that our profits is increasing, but our image is not really in a good image in the market. So we need to do something with regard to our image. So changing the strategic goals is also part of the organizational change types. Or changing people, which is the most hardest and difficult one, because we will know later on that always people resist to change. People do not like to move out of their comfort zone. So changing their attitudes or behavior, or changing, improving their performance may take a long time and take different strategies. So these are the different types that can happen in organization. Let's have some examples from real life. For example, Samsung, and as you can see this in the news, in 2021. This is a very recent one. Multi-billion-dollar visionary company like Samsung has been successful in restructuring the organization culture. How? What was the change actually? The change, they are trying to adopt a new hierarchy, which is a flatter hierarchy to learn young talent. Young talent in the previous or the old system or the old way or the old structure, it's very difficult for them to get promoted and to get to the senior role. Very difficult for them. So Samsung think about this, and they start to move from this top-down bureaucratic hierarchy into more like startup horizontal organization. By moving, why? The reason is to make sure that the management layers are reduced and allow younger employees to be promoted to the senior role, and of course boost what is known as workplace flexibility. So becoming more flexible now, not bureaucratic. A very good example of Samsung. Another example is a little bit 10 or 15 years back, which is Netflix. Netflix moved from just simple DVD rental to being very successful streaming organization. In this case, what actually the change is the business strategy. They move from being selling DVD or a DVD seller to become the largest online streaming service and video on demand on the internet. Another example is IBM. IBM, that was in 1999, IBM goes from we all know that IBM used to be a product company. They focus only on products, but nowadays they shift to more service model evaluation. All those examples just to show us that how is important change and how those large organizations move and did this kind of shift. And of course, a change is not only pertain to certain large organization only, but it is for every organization, whether this organization large or medium or small or in any sector, education or any kind of industry or services and so on. Now, you may ask yourself a question, how this change can be handled? And this will take us to the second point. How can this change be handled? Must not be an easy task. It is a difficult task, but it can be done, right? It can be done. And today we are here to say that how can we do this kind of a change? Let me ask one question first. If you like to please to converse or to communicate and to be more two ways communication, that would be great. What's the difference between change management and change leadership? Any question? Any answer for that? Okay, I have here this differentiation between why we need to do this, because we're trying to say that do we must manage change or do we need to lead the change? First of all, change management is looking at the more formal aspect of a change, like changing our procedures, our system, policies. However, change leadership is dealing with the less formal part of a change, changing our vision, our mission, our values, our beliefs, our attitudes. So Kotar 1990, which is the guru or the pioneer of change management, once said that management produces consistency, planning, organizing, staffing, controlling, and so on. However, leadership produces this kind of movement. They establishing a direction and align people to those directions and motivate people and inspire them. That not to say that leadership is more important than management, but we need both. We need to manage change and we need to lead the change in the same time. And today we are going to look at both aspects, managing change and leading change, with more emphasis on how to lead the change and what are the different styles of leading. Because change management is still associated with RAMP, reports, approval, meetings, policies, and procedures. In this scope, management are missing an important part, which is how to change the people who are changing agent or the catalyst for change in an organization. Without them, we cannot do change. We can introduce a new software, but what if our staff cannot handle this? They don't know how to deal with this software. They are not well trained on using this new software. So again, so it is about procedures and system and policies, in addition to lead changing people who are the most important aspect in a change. Focusing on a change management only without considering people, that definitely will make most of our change initiatives to fail. Why? That is reported by many previous studies that focusing on change management or being only a change manager, not a change leader, is really going to make your change initiative failing. Okay, before we start talk about those two and how can we handle this change, one is important question that come to your mind: is our organization ready for a change or not? Very few questions you may ask. Number one is, are the key people in organization decided to change or not? So a change can come from top down. Senior management see that the need for change, the anticipated change. They conduct some kind of analysis, and one of the important one is a SWOT analysis, actually. SWOT analysis, because SWOT analysis shows us the threat the organization face. And we have to respond quickly to this kind of threat. So is change needed or not? Those who will decide this are the key personnel in the organization. So a change also has some goals, as we discussed earlier. So what are the goals? Are we going to change our structure, hierarchy, our beliefs, our values, our mission, our vision? So are the change goals are clear or not? If it is not clear, misunderstanding will be there. Employees, they will not understand the reason behind change. They will resist change, and they don't like this kind of new beginning, or they will always keep resistant. And sometimes, as we will see, sometimes they will withdraw. Sometimes they will be depressed. They will find another place to work. Another important question that we need to ask in terms of whether our organization is ready to change or not is the current state of organization. There are very few models that will show you later how to say that we are ready or not in terms of cultural and people. Again, are the key people involved? Because if the key people are not involved, they will be a troublemaker. They will put more resistance on the change initiatives. And are the employee prepared and oriented for change? The answer or to all those questions come from using some tools to drive a change. Before we discuss the tools, who is responsible for change? In some organizations, there is no particular one or position for change, but this can be internal or external, from top management or from HR department or from, but this one can be, the name of this person is sometimes in the literature, they call it a change agent or a change practitioner, if he or she is from external to the organization, or a change manager or a CMO, change management officer. There are so many names, but at the end of the day, he is doing those kind of roles. He is trying to build teams. He's trying to analyze the current operational change, do some kind of documentation and monitoring all the aspects of change. communicate with employees, and make sure that the plan is properly developed before we start or initiate a change. So, what are those tools that we may use if we're trying to change our organization from its current state to a new desired one to achieve certain goals? The tools are many, and so many tools, but we can, of course, we will take an overview because we can spend one session to talk about each one. So let's have a quick overview of all the tools today, just to be aware and of all those kind of tools that may be. And there are the one I brought today is the most popular one. So definitely, when you read about change management or you start to apply, the most important thing is to apply those tools, that you come across all those tools, and let's have an idea of what are these tools, when can we use them, what are the importance of those tools, and so on. So first of all, we have flowchart or process map, a very popular one, and in this kind of mapping, as you can see that it is a tool to visualize the process. You can see that a stakeholder request some kind of change. We need to change something. This change comes from the stakeholders. If you know how to use the different elements of this flowchart, then you can develop a flowchart like this. So because each figure or each shape in the flowchart has a meaning. For example, this one here, accept, is a decision whether this change we accept this change or reject this change. So a request comes first, and then we need to assess the change and then review the RFC, which is a request for a change, and then we'll decide whether to accept the change or reject the change. In case you reject this change, then you go back to central change log. This is a documentation process. You keep that change log because you are trying to record all the process and all the procedures of change. This kind of tool, very useful in the beginning of the change management process, because it will visualize the whole process of change. And of course, that is to say that this is not fixed, because that is going to be changed during the process. Sometimes you need to add or update certain procedures or to remove until you reach to the implementation stage. So this is one tool, a visualization tool to facilitate understanding the change process for managers and all those involved in the change management process. Another one is an ADKAR model. ADKAR model is a coaching tool. This is a coaching tool. It is used to make sure that the people involved in this kind of change, actually, they are supporting and believe in a change. ADKAR model is, as you can see, that it has 5 stages. Starting A for awareness, D desire, K knowledge, A ability, and R reinforcement. The first 3 part or the first 3 stages of the model are about the enablement zone. You are trying to enable this kind of change in the organization first, and then the second 2 elements of this model is about engagement. So you start by creating awareness, awareness. Announce the change to employees ahead of time. Do not make it sudden. Do not shock them. Try to make change announcement long time in advance so that they are ready to start to look at it, internalize the change, be prepared for the change, and explain the reason behind change. This is most important because we are trying to avoid any kind of misunderstanding. So introducing For example, we are going to go through change because we want to increase our potential ROI, for example. So give employee an opportunity to ask a question in this stage and make suggestions. And then once this awareness phase done, then you are trying to create desire, gauge employees' reaction to the change. And if employees are resistant still, you need to address their concern. And we will talk about resistance in few minutes and how can we deal with resistance, because it's a very important topic in change process. And definitely, if there is a change, there is a resistance to that change. And then knowledge. Knowledge here, before we, as I mentioned in the CRM software, our company is trying to bring new software to our business to make sure that customer relationship management is managed efficiently. But no one knows how to use this system. So make sure that you are providing training for or coaching to show that employees need to do after the change take place. Yeah, after we bring this new system to the organization, we are going to provide you with training so that you will be able to deal with it. So you need to address what is known as skills gap, because that's why employees in the first place resist. They don't like this new change or new phenomenon or new initiative, because they having this kind of fear of failure, as we will know later. They fear that may fail. They look at the self-interest. I'm happy now with the current situation. I'm happy with this traditional way of doing things. But if you bring something new, definitely that will be more disruptive and distressful. So you need to provide here some kind of resources, such as the flow chart, and move them to the fourth stage, with ability. Ability is you are trying to schedule practice run kind of training before the change is fully implemented. Monitor the performance immediately following the change and provide constructive feedback and set reasonable goals for these metrics and start and adjust again. Kind of continuous improvement. And finally, reinforcement. So you monitor the change over time to ensure that it fulfills your desired outcome, and you use the positive feedback, rewards, and recognition. So for those who are adapted to change, they are performing well, you reward them and recognize them, you recognize their performance and to encourage them. Okay, this is the second tool. We have actually around 12. I don't think we have enough time to discuss every one by one, but we look at the most important one. Is one of those important tools is the force field analysis. I'm sure if you already working in the area of managing change somewhere, or you have been doing any kind of change project before, definitely you will be using force field analysis. Force field analysis is a tool that can just weighting, kind of measuring or weighting the forces for and against change. Because if you want to do some kind of a change, bringing a new software to or changing our billing system, definitely there are so many factors or reasons why we do this, and what would be the forces against change. We need to do this kind of analysis, very simple one, but it's really important because you are trying to be more rational here. If the forces for a change is exceeding the forces against the change, then you proceed with the change. Okay, so because you now make sure that, okay, for example, in this case, on the left hand side we have driving force number one. You give weight of 5, the second is 3, and the third is 2. The total number is 10. However, the forces against the change are only 7. So in this case, we can proceed with change. Now, what if we have the equilibrium state. There's no difference between forces against and forces for change. So they are the same in terms of the weight. So we need to stop. We cannot say that we are ready for change now unless we sort out and try to make sure that our forces for change is exceeding forces against change. And of course, if the forces against change is higher, then you need to stop a change until you fix all the problems out there and come back to change later on. Okay, any questions so far? Because yeah, I know that there will be some Q&A at the end, but if you please stop me if you want to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so far so good. Okay. Qatar also introduced a long time ago, 1990s, I believe, this model, change model, that may be useful for organization also to use when they're trying to handle a change. What is the difference between this model and the previous models? Actually, Qatar, that the coming tools will be focusing more on people. As you can see, the previous one focusing on the forces, focusing on the process itself. But this Qatar model is looking at the people, whether they really want to change to happen or not. So it will be much easier for you if you, as a change manager or a change leader, you feel that everyone in organization needs change. On the contrary, it would be very difficult for you when you see that many people in the organization, they do not. So if you start by creating a sense of urgency, if everyone in the organization feel it and think that, yes, something has to change because it is urgent for us to change, that will be easy for you to move to that change process. Sense of urgency means that we have some problem somewhere. We have some threat. I told you before that SWOT analysis can be very useful tool here, because if there is some kind of threat to the organization, then we need to do something as quickly as possible. So generating awareness on the need of the organization, adaptation to change, is creating sense of urgency. So if everyone feel the same sense of urgency, that would be good. If not many people, that change process will be very difficult. If we already creating this awareness, then it is time to build coalitions or building teams. As I mentioned earlier, one of the main responsibilities of the CMO or change manager or change leader is to start looking at team, assemble an effective team and team leaders committed to achieve this kind of changing goal, and then developing a change vision. Clear vision is important, that will be understood clearly by both employees and managers, and then communicating the vision for buy-in. Then everyone has to be aware, successfully communicate this strategic vision to employees. Why? Because you want to gain the support of those employees, and you're trying again to reduce this resistance. Then enable action. Try to eliminate all the barriers. As we mentioned, there are some forces, obstacles, trying to stop us from continuing or moving towards our changing goals. So the aim is to have, after you communicate this vision to your employees, empower employees to participate in eradicating or removing the barriers. And sometimes employees, they don't have that patience to wait for long time to see the return of this change. To try to again to focus on the short term first, short term win that this progress towards achieving the organizational goals or change goals, that may take time, but in the short term also we can see some improvement, such as we are going to get our work more easily done, very fast, very rapid. Customer will be happy, return on investment will be high. Our kind of new system or restructuring will reduce your job burden by 50%, something like this. And again, try to consolidate the gain and sustain this kind of acceleration and institute a change. So become change in a very organization, in the organizational culture, and sustain the benefits. Okay, those. I skipped some, but they are actually, when you look at the tools, they are actually having the same logic. So introducing change, and then you have to go through this preparation and procedures, and then the outcome. But what is the difference between those tools? And some of them look at the procedures, some of the tools look at the people. For example, this nudge theory. Nudge theory is an important theory that can be very good in implementation of the change. For example, let's say that in one organization, very simple change they would like to do, which is trying to reduce the number of people who are using the printers, because they try to go green. So they notice that most of the staff of the employees are using printers, whether they need it or not. So too much use of a printer and printing out. So how to reduce this without having directly telling them to stop using a printer in a very heavy using. I think nudge theory can help us to understand this, because nudge theory is you are trying to reach an outcome, but not in a very indirect way. So one of the nudges or the solution that this firm can introduce is to put the printer in one room, and only one room for all the building, and this room is going to be in a very far building, so you will take long distance to go and collect your print out. So in this case, when you do this, definitely people will think twice before they print. It's a long distance I need to walk. Do I need to print this or not? And then only one room. Maybe this room is crowded. So I need to think before I do this. Nudge theory here is trying to say that you can change people. You can change by introducing a nudge. The nudge is a solution to a problem, but it's an indirect way. So define first the outcome, which is reducing people printing. Identifies the obstacles. Why is it very hard to do this? And consider employees. Think about them. When you sit with employees to find out what is the best nudge for this problem, they may suggest some kind of alternatives. So you need to consider them when you're taking that decision. You are not saying no printing at all, but you are trying to make it a little bit difficult to print. And then, of course, they may come with so many nudges, so you need to brainstorm which is the best one and start the nudging and review and like that. Maybe after some time, you find this kind of nudge is not really good one. Maybe another better one, like you have a quota of number of paper to print per month or something like this, would be much better. This kind of a change also, a simple change, but we can use the nudge theory to reach out or to figure what is the best alternative that we can use. I think maybe another one, I think that would be last one, because we want to move to the leadership styles. Here is Kubler-Ross change curve. Kubler-Ross change curve also is one of the models that used, this is the name of the person who already developed this tool. He's trying to say that, you know, when you again, this model is focusing on people. So that I told you the rest of the models, most of them focus on people. So when you try to introduce a change to any organization, the first thing is that people will be shocked. They will be in what is known as the denial stage. They try to use what is known defense mechanism to deflect the actual occurrence of change. We don't want this change. We're trying to find any way to stop this change, and that will affect their productivity. So in the first stage, when you introduce change, you will see that there is a steep decline in employees' productivity in that stage, which is the denial stage. They don't like this because we are humans, and we humans, we used to cling to the past process. We like the old way of doing things. And as a result of this change you are being introducing to us, and we are going to disconnect from this reality. We don't like it. And this denial stage will lead us to another stage of anger. We really, I can see that our denial is helping, so change is coming anyway. So change is manifested in the organization, introduced already, and sorry, just one. Yeah, and as a response to that change after the denial stage, employee will respond in a very negative way. Either they are fearing change, or they're angry with the change. And be careful as a change leader or a change manager here. If you did not manage to control this kind of spiral anger or fear in this stage, definitely your change will go into failure. So when you introduce a change, introduce something new to your organization, the second stage are really important. Either this anger that came out of employees will make the change fail, or you try to control anger and fear and move to the third stage of bargaining. Bargaining, whereby the individual crosses their anger, crossing the stage of anger, and they try to negotiate. Maybe try to negotiate to find a compromise. And again, that may not be successful because change already going their way in its way. So employees will find themselves depressed in a depression stage, and in this stage they will lose hope entirely. No way, change is coming, and in this, as you can see in the model here, they are in this stage they are kind of low mood, lacking of energy. There are kind of sadness, frustration, and and demotivation and regret. Why I work in this company? I want to move. I want to do something else. And finally, after some time, I can see that most of the models are dimensions of time and morals. So on the vertical axis are the morals and the competence, and the horizontal one on the time. So change by time will happen. So after this kind of depression, we start to move to the last stage of change, which is acceptance, period of acceptance stage. They try to expand the new way of doing things, engage with this new way of doing things, learning how to work in this new situation is important. Now I feel more positive now. If I learn something new, I'm getting better, improving my performance, then accepting that kind of a change. This is some kind of examples and some tools. Of course, I told you that the models are so many. I pick up only few of them to make sure that we at least have some kind of good overview of what are the tools can be used for change, and the application or the implementation of those tools may need a lot of time to apply in real life. But okay, let's move to the fourth point of our today's agenda, which is resistance to change. As we mentioned many times before, resistance is there, and it's normal. So because resistance is expected, because since a change is introduced, change is disruptive, annoying, stressful, degree of skepticism is healthy. People don't know. People are still skeptic about this change. Why? Why? They keep asking, do we need that change? Are the old ways are better or not? So especially when you introduce a change with so many weaknesses, the proposed change is full of weaknesses. So the level of skepticism will be higher. So make sure before you introduce this plan, change plan, that is appropriate plan, it's a well-developed plan. So, but we cannot be quiet about resistance, because it's resistance will impede us from achieving our goals. So what should we be doing? Any idea? If we try to tackle this resistance, what should we be doing as a leader? Before we answer this question, let's know first why do we resist? Why do we resist? We resist because I mistrust the person, or the not just simple that's the one, maybe someone representing the whole organization. We mistrust, or there is a lack of confidence in this person. So employees do not feel confident in the person making change. So in this case, very important to choose the right person to introduce change to the organization, because Morar is the name of the scholar. He identified 3 levels of resistance to change. First one is, I don't get it. I don't understand why we need change. The second level of change resistance is, I don't like it. I don't like this change. And the third level of change of resistance is, I don't like you. So people will move from one step to another, from one level to another, saying that because of what? Because of the person who introducing change, they don't like him, or they are mistrust, or this, or there is a lack of confidence in this. A second reason why change is resisted in organization, because there are so many emotional responses to change. And by the way, you cannot ignore this kind of emotional responses, because if you try to brush it off, that will lead to more resistance. You need to consider this all emotional reaction coming from your employees when you do change. And the model that we just mentioned now, Kubler-Ross change, is very effective in mitigating the common cause of resistance. That's why that's in this kind of resistance, we may be using those tools to help us. Okay, and therefore, change leader must be prepared to manage these emotions and move people towards the acceptance stage of change. Another reasons why people resist the change is because of they are afraid to fail. Their fear of fail. People will not support change if they are not confident in the change and how to adapt to it. When they feel threatened, of course, they maybe try to protect themselves. ADKAR model that we have already mentioned is very important, because you are actually trying to address this kind of fear of failure by in using the knowledge and ability element of the ADKAR model. Poor communication is one of the reasons why people resist change, because announcement will change if it is not, if not understood. This kind of misunderstanding can create resistance. So managers or leaders with change need to make sure that they have a plan of communication plan, and this plan can be like a small group discussion and one-to-one meetings, gathering or getting feedback. But make sure during this communication you are uh, addressing two important questions, because employee will keep asking them, whether directly or indirectly, what is it in it for me? What's it in it for me? This change. What are the benefits I'm going to get out of this change? And the other question is, what does it mean to me when I do this change? I look for my individual concern. Then a leader of change need to communicate this kind of important answer to those questions. Okay, and in this case also, Kotter's 8-step model will be very useful because it will highlight the short-term wins for for these people. Okay, unrealistic timelines. We will talk about this at the end, because you give a very unrealistic timeline. You are trying to push too hard for the change to happen in a very short time, and of course that is not right way of doing things in terms of change, because it is easy to get tunnel vision and neglect important elements of the change plan if you are trying to push too hard. So yes, sometimes we need to change urgently, but you try to make balance between creating sense of urgency and allowing time for transition. Transition is not easy and will take time. So you need first to start with the change implementation timeline, and then map out every action, set the deadline, and have a general idea of how long this transition may take. And of course, do not be afraid to make any kind of adjustment along the way, because sometimes you need to give more time, and or maybe reduce the time and so on. Okay, there are many ways to handle the resistance of change. I think already discussed. Okay, now we already completed a very important part of this session today, which is change management. The more important one is leadership. The leadership, changing leadership. So what we talk about just right now is about how to manage change. But now we are going to look at how to lead change, which is the title of this session. Let's have some real examples from real life examples. Microsoft, in the beginning of this century, they used to be a very leading software company under the leadership of Bill Gates, but unfortunately, they end up as being another software company under the reign of Palmer. So what happened? Although Palmer tripled the company revenues up to 78 billion USD, so no problem with the profit. Look at this, pay attention to this. He already achieved the company revenues, but he failed to change the direction of the company into the main 21st century technology trend. Because we don't see now Microsoft as a trend like Google in terms of search, or Apple for the phones, or Netflix for the media, and so on, and cloud computing, Amazon. So yes, achieving profits, making revenues, but not leading the market. So in 2014, Palmer stepped down after 14 years and left the place for CEO Satya Nadella, and which is he saved Microsoft from becoming a irrelevant player in the world market. The same with Apple. Apple, of course, we all know Steve Jobs. He left, and Tim Cook comes as a CEO. Tim Cook, he's a very good manager, and also he managed to increase the sales by 200 billion USD. He sacrifices long-term goals for short-term goals, so he makes profit. However, how about Apple now? Apple loses the battle of artificial intelligence, which is the future of technological innovation. Look at Google, for example. You have Google Home and Google Assistant, Alexa for Amazon, and so on. But Apple is not there. So they manage very well, but they are not leaders in the market. And that makes me think about what are those styles that the change leader should have. In order to answer those questions, a very important matrix can help us. And I think I have a survey or a questionnaire for you if you would like to identify your leadership style in terms of change leadership style. Let's have a look at this model first that will explain what are the different change leader style. Change leader have a variety of styles. One, based on two important dimensions, which is effectiveness and moral. Effectiveness is the degree of emphasis upon goal accomplishment, and the moral is the degree of emphasis upon relationship and satisfaction. The intersection between the two dimensions, the effectiveness and the moral, may result in 5 categories of leadership style, change leadership styles. And those are stabilizer, cheerleader, analyzer, pathfinder, and persuader. So we have 5 change leadership styles that any leader who leading change will fall in one of those categories. Which one is the best one? Let's have a look first at the stabilizer one, the stabilizer style. I look at the model first. The stabilizer he is very low in effectiveness and he is very low in the moral dimension, which means that this style has a very minimum concern for goal achievement or goal accomplishment. And also he has a very minimum concern for the people involved in change. So it's not really looking at the effectiveness and at trying to achieve goals and not considering people. Very, very, really negative style. And the manager don't care about to get involved in anything. This kind of leaders just trying to waiting time to patiently to end until the new order come down. Really terrible example of leader style who trying to change organizations. And in this case, this manager or this leader is viewing changes as very disruption of the will, order, and security. I'm sure that everyone is trying to avoid this kind of style. The second style is the cheerleader style. Let's look at the cheerleader or the matrix first. Cheerleader is a very high in moral, but in very low in effectiveness. So the manager or the leader here using this style has a minimum concern about whether the change goals are accomplished. Really not focusing on change goals, but he has a one positive side, which is he is committed to the people he is working with. He is trying to make sure that everyone is happy. He's personally committed to that. So there may be some kind of change program as people, because cheerleader style encourage employees to design and implement their own program of change. So that can be good one, especially when there's our change program focusing more on people. So people involved in this change program are committed and that the style that this style of leaders trying to make sure they are happy with this change. So the main focus of this style is on the friend relationship and the moral as well. The third type of leaders who leading change in organization is the analyzer one. Analyzer is on the matrix here is he is high in effectiveness and low in moral. He is good and bad in some ways. So good in trying to look at the accomplishment of the change goals, but he is paying little attention to the people involved in implementing the goals. And of course, that is not the right way. Because as we discussed earlier, people are important. Without people, we cannot drive change in any organizations. So the analyzer style see people as a mean to accomplish the change. He doesn't really care about them. They are a mean to achieve, mean to a goal, to an end, sorry, mean to an end. And he believes that he must be closely guided, they must be closely guided, and because they lack of the desire or the capacity to change. They don't, he has the assumption that people do not like change, and also I need to guide them, direct them, and that's it. So if you are using this kind of style, you are actually expert in your field. You are setting performance standards, but you are lacking skills to deal with people. The fourth type of leader style is the persuader. As you can see, persuader is located in the middle of this matrix, which means that this persuader is getting the best of all, or trying to moderate the concern, trying to be good in achieving change objectives, but in the same time also trying to be good in committed to people and taking care of them and focusing on the people requirement and so on. He is a consistent manager or a leader. He is not consistent. Sorry, he is because he trying to shift the emphasis all the time. It's not stable. Sometimes he's focusing on goals. Sometimes he is focusing on the people, and he trying to attempt to implement change in small steps, allow people to come gradually accustomed to this change. Finally, the best leader style is the pathfinder. The pathfinder is a manager that is using this style to strive for achievement, and in the same time, he is looking after the people's and trying to maximize concern for people and involved in this implementation of change program. He is a desired style for change managers. So everyone is trying to do this. So I don't think we have enough time, but I will share with you this survey at the end of the session. You can answer a few questions, around 10 questions, and do some kind of scoring technique. Then you will find out what is my style as a change manager. And am I an analyzer or pathfinder or what, or stabilizer? So after you answer this kind of survey, I don't think it takes long time. It's only 10 minutes. So you can decide who are you in terms of a change manager style. And I think we have only 2 minutes. Dr. T, do we have 10 minutes or 15 minutes for question ask?
It's okay. If you would like to proceed with your talk, it's fine. If not, we can just continue with Q&A.
Okay, I still have few slides, but I can stop, no problem, because the rest are actually maybe kind of repetition. Yeah. If you have any questions, please let me know. No? Do I need to stop sharing?
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad Rageh, for the very interesting talk. So now we are in the question and answer session. Anyone who would like to ask any question, you may unmute your mic or directly post your questions in the chat panel. Okay, Dr. Ahmad, I would like to ask your opinion regarding what do you think is the most appropriate model or points that as what you had displayed to us just now, what is the most appropriate one and what actions should actually be taken by our own MBA and DBA students who are, already managers and hold high level positions in their own organizations.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. T, for this. In terms of what is the most important, or if we do some kind of ranking, which one is the most effective tool to use in change, I would say all of them are important, relatively important, because as I mentioned earlier, every model has, or every tool has an aspect to focus on. We cannot claim that this tool is, we can rely entirely on this tool to make our change happen in organization. However, they complementing each other because each tool has some kind of limitation. So if you are starting a change in your organization, definitely you will need to do the process map, and also you need to create awareness. So we'll use an ADKAR model. Culture is important aspect in your organization. So you need to do the cultural map in terms of identifying those enabler for change and kind of blocker of change. And then you also need to conduct force field analysis. And maybe you also need to conduct stakeholder analysis. Use Kotar model to identify how can we ensure that people we are emphasizing the short-term goals of this in change, because people sometimes are impatient in organization. They want to see the return. So Kotar model can help you in highlighting the short-term wins, or maybe also have Lewin's model of change. This is a simple way also try to. This also can be a communication tool to make sure that everyone has the same understanding in organization about the change initiative. They do not actually misunderstood, because if they misunderstood change, then that will create higher resistance later on. Changing people and changing their beliefs and changing the old ways of doing things is one important aspect that bridge transition model. I have a chance to explain that one, but it's bridge transition is you starting by ending. You starting that change by ending the old ways and letting go of the past and losing the past without regret. So moving people to neutral zone and the new beginning. That model will help also all those people responsible for change. The theory change model also is about how to deal with the foreign element. A change is all about foreign element introduced to our organization. Why we call it foreign element? Because we say that is we didn't used to get this in our organization. This is something new. So Satir, when he developed his change model, he called this a new thing is a foreign element, and how this foreign element is introduced and what kind of chaos it creates in the organization, and how can that affect the performance of employees. So they may have better days than others. days are better, the days are not good. So a changing or the variation of the performance of employees due to the introduction of foreign elements is already highlighted in the clear change model using the Gantt chart. Of course, all of us know the Gantt chart, and it's a project management tool because it changes the project also. So using this to decide on the timeline is also important. So to sum up, I cannot say that it is one tool is better than the other, but they can use collaboratively together to make sure that we are covering all aspects of a change in organization.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for that answer. And again, I would like to open any questions from the floor or anything that you want to interact with our speaker for today. You can just write up in the chat box. Anyone?
Do you want to have that questionnaire to decide to see your
Yeah, I think that would be perfect, Dr. Ahmed.
Okay.
Maybe you can put it up in the chat
Okay.
box.
Am I allowed to attach file?
Attach file,
I can send to WhatsApp, doctor.
or you can write directly in the chat box.
No, it's a Word document. Can I send to you by WhatsApp?
Oh, okay. But admin, if by WhatsApp, how can we send to the participants here? Or are we allowed to attach documents here? Yeah, I don't think we can attach, right, Dr. Ahmed? I don't think we can attach documents.
Okay, yeah. I can share the screen and there are 10 questions, maybe need a bit of time. But if you I can share with you now if you like.
Sure.
Can you see that one?
We can see the folder, but not yet the questions.
How about now?
Not yet. It's not appearing yet. It's just like a folder showing some documents. Yeah. Okay, now we can see it. Yeah.
Yes. So it is about 10 questions. We asking you, how are you going to respond in this situation? And you need to rank your answers from the least similar to you to the most similar to you. So, for example, as a change leader relating to employees, I will. Number A is supporting the employees in working out its goals and aim at higher morale. B, generally set ground rules and then leave it up to the employees. C, join with the employees in identifying the goals and so on. So what you need to do is to find what is the most similar answer to you when you act in this kind of situation. If you are a change leader, so you can put the letter. I will show you now. So for example, I will do A first. So A will be like here. A, and then C would be 6, and then B will be 4, B, and E, C would be 5, C, A, B, C, D, and then E. This for example, my answers to the first question is I arranged them based on which is most similar reaction to me. So if you want to do this, maybe you can. I can send that. I don't know again how to send the document, but there are 10 questions. Maybe later on you can send by email, doctor, by email to the participant, and then after you finish answering all these 10 questions, then you need to move all your scores for the letter. For example, you get the letter A in the first question here. A will take 8. So what I need to do is to go to the scoring table here, and put A, so be 8, not 4, for the first one. And then calculate all the responses to get the total points of score for each style. And then I will know which is my first style and the second and the third. I can easily move from one style to another if the difference is between the two styles is less than 10. So this is for the final result will show you this is your primary style and this is your second, your third, your fourth, your five, based on the scores you get for each style. And if the difference between them those is too high, that means it is very difficult for you to change your style. But if the difference is too low, that means you can simply change between style based on the situation you face. I think.
I see. That's interesting.
So that may take maybe 15 minutes from your reading, and if you need that kind of questionnaire, of course, I will send it to you, or all of you. Then you can do the yes, I will send. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. And I think for the participants too, we shall share the questionnaire in the Facebook channel as well, right? So
Yes.
they can access from there. Okay. Before we end up, anyone? Do you have any questions? Okay, so Dr. Ahmed, I guess there's no further questions. So before we end up, let us proceed with the photo session. So everyone in the WebEx, please kindly turn on your camera to have a photo session event with our Associate Professor Dr. Ahmed Rageh Ismail. Please welcome. Okay, everyone, kindly turn on your cameras for a few seconds. Okay, ready, everyone? Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3. Right, okay, and then we have another one, right? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, everyone. And once again, thank you so much to our speaker for today, Associate Professor Dr. Ahmed Rageh Ismail. And all the participants, may we meet again in the next skill training and career development session. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.